Well, the partition in India, we're talking about in 1947, occurred in Punjab and in Bengal. That's where the lines were drawn. It was close to about 18 million people who were forced to leave their homes almost overnight. And as a result of which, homes got divided, families got divided, lives were lost. A lot of people were unable to cope. So there was a huge psychological impact also.
Now, at home, in those days, at the end of a film, all the audience stood up and they played the national anthem. Now that was the first time I heard a chant, and it was a chant that was Pakistan, Pakistan.
We have found that a lot of this was to do with rumour mongering, with insecurity. The initial violence happened close to the year of partition and was actually in the early part of 1947 in March. So there was a kind of pressure that was put upon people to exit from what was no longer their land, and so a lot of violence.
The big shock was literally on the 15th of August, where the two communities who I had perceived as getting on okay started killing each other in large numbers, which shocked me greatly.
What we read about and what we have learned about the violence in Rawalpindi, it was terrible because so many women were killed, and a lot of those killings were honor killings because their own families decided to kill them so that they wouldn't, be raped or abducted. So these are very, very terrible stories. And then, of course, it just grew and grew and grew.
And then, of course, you got retaliation. That's what it was. I mean, my view of the Hindus was that they weren't violent people, but when they were attacked, they attacked back. And that is what the conflict was all about. And of course, it isn't long before you get lots of young men want to get stuck in.
At that point, even the border force which had been put up was completely new at the job. And the British had frankly given up. They were not going to be there in order to maintain control or anything. I mean, they had already decided that independence had been declared on the 15th of August, and it was a problem of these two new countries, India and Pakistan. I think the general understanding is that the British could have done more. But of course, the historians know that it was a different story because there was also the World War which was going on at the time when India was demanding its independence, and possibly they just wanted to exit before the situation got really, really terrible.
We anticipated a lot of anguish, perhaps, distress, but in reality, we, the British, came off very, very well. Can't say the same for the Indian population. The absolute slaughter's taking place.
The main instructions were that if there was mobs around, that there would also be a magistrate, and it would be up to him to make the decision. It wouldn't be our officers that would make that decision. I think we've got to think back to the days when, I can't remember the general's name, but was it at Amritsar?
Dyer.
That's the name. That was always at the back of the minds. That could happen again if that situation got out of hand.
I think the way the Indians look upon this is that this was a tragedy that could have been averted. There could have been a better way of doing it, and especially the haste that Mountbatten showed and the 6 weeks that he gave to Radcliffe in order to divide India. I would say it was not a very noble exit for them. Today's kids are, they're devastated if they lose their cell phone. And these were people who were given less than 24 hours to vacate their entire home and to go to a new land. So I think we must remember those things, and that is the most important thing. We must not ever forget.